Welcome to the NFL Show on the Gurley True Sports Network. I am your co-host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host from the FF Face-Off, the real NFL guru, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
All right, we're going to start off with a little news, and then we're going to preview tonight's Thursday night football game, which is actually a good matchup. And we're going to start off with Stefon Diggs. And we know it's been kind of a vexing start for the Minnesota Vikings offense. And a lot of people are reporting Stefon Diggs wants out. What's your take on this? I mean, this is a good football team. I'm getting really tired of this.
The wide receivers in Minnesota, they're frustrated, and we started seeing it last year with Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins going at it in the second half, and now we're starting to see it spill over. I mean, Thielen was vocal about the play calling over the weekend, and, Diggs is clearly frustrated. This all goes on Kirk Cousins to me, but these wide receivers, they need to keep their mouths shut because this team is 3-1.
Yeah, and when I look at this, they are a playoff contender, and to win, they're going to have to throw the ball down the field anyways. I do have a lot of questions with a lot of the dump-offs checking down all the time by Cousins. I don't know if it's more of a play-calling thing or if it's more of a Kirk Cousins thing.
I mean, you don't think it's more play-calling than the quarterback? I mean, this is a Kirk Cousins who chokes in all the big games. And he put up big numbers before in Washington, and he puts up big numbers when Dalvin Cook isn't in. But there's a reason why they want to protect this guy.
How about this? He puts up big numbers when they're playing teams that aren't that great. Against average and less competition, I think he is a great quarterback. The problem is when the competition level steps up, he doesn't.
But you could say that about a lot of guys, too.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins, to me, from all reports, is kind of an asshole all the time, and that probably doesn't help.
Really? See, I've never heard a bad thing about Kirk Cousins until now.
I've heard a few things with guys that left the Redskins when he was there that I actually know, so I'm not making it up, but he can sometimes be a little bit difficult to deal with.
Interesting. Well, either way.
All right.
Either way, he still chokes.
Another receiver with problems, but he's not looking for a trade yet, is Cleveland Browns receiver Jarvis Landry, who continues to deal with a concussion. They're getting ready to play a 49ers team that's really good. They really need Jarvis Landry in this game, but it doesn't look hopeful so far.
No, and yes, they're going to lose Jarvis Landry, but they're also getting back Antonio Callaway from a suspension, so that's going to help ease the pain a little bit. But they're two different players completely. Jarvis Landry is one of your better slot wide receivers in the NFL, and he's been doing damage because he's no longer the number one. OBJ is getting the top coverage, and Landry's just running free right now. So, yeah, this is a significant loss. Callaway coming back is going to help ease the pain, but, yeah, this is going to be big if he doesn't play.
Yeah, and that 49ers game is not going to be easy on the West Coast on Monday night. New York Jets coach Adam Gase, who we'll get to in a little bit, said quarterback Sam Darnold looked good during Wednesday's practice. He took most of the first-team reps. Gase said that for Darnold to be able to play this weekend versus the Eagles, he'll need to be medically cleared, and GM Joe Douglas, the medical staff, and himself will need to sign off on his availability.
Do you believe it? I mean, I've heard nothing, but, we're going to see Sam Darnold return this week. Maybe this is a little bit of a smokescreen, but I do think Sam Darnold's going to play.
So you think maybe Adam Gase wants to make sure he can get those the point spread up to 14?
Adam Gase is doing his best.
You there, Anthony? Oh, we lost Anthony. Skype's been killing us lately.
I'm here.
All right, there we go. We lost your connection through Skype, it looked like. Another one, Jalen Ramsey is not expected to practice due to a lingering back issue. Now, wouldn't you think if he wants to be traded, he would at least be healthy? Because right now, why would you want to trade for him acting like this? Because he's either hurt or he's faking something.
Healthy or not, the Jaguars owner, Shad Khan, came out and said, we're not trading Jalen Ramsey, and I'm paraphrasing here. We're not going to trade Jalen Ramsey, and, the Jaguars are better with him.
Yeah, and the question here is, once again, it's not like you're playing for the Miami Dolphins or the Cincinnati Bengals and you won out of Dodge. Jacksonville could win this division. There's a lot of excitement. Gardner Minshew's playing well. You got Nick Foles will be coming back. So it really makes me wonder with Jalen Ramsey. I mean, isn't it better to wait till the season's over and make a run at possibly making the playoffs or a Super Bowl?
Well, was it you? I forgot who I was talking to. It might have been you. It might have been somebody else on another show. That Jalen Ramsey's issue is with Tom Coughlin, not Doug Marrone.
Yeah, but
So
still.
that's the issue now. Even though Marrone and Ramsey had a blow up on the sideline, this is supposedly about Tom Coughlin, which wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me either, but still, at some point, just play. I mean, there's got to be some connection with your teammates here, I would think. So it just disappoints me here because Jalen Ramsey's a really good player, and right now, if he's faking an injury, why would anybody want him?
How do you fake an injury? Eventually MRIs will have to come into play. No, it's
Not
a
with
back
a back.
injury. But
You can bring up the back thing forever.
no.
Trust me. I know people that have done that before at jobs they didn't like. All right, the New England Patriots look like they've found a Steven Gostkowski replacement. And per the NFL Network's Mike Garofalo and NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport, it looks like the Patriots are expected to sign veteran kicker Mike Nugent. What do you think about that?
Nugent's been around for a long time. He's a veteran kicker. What do you want to say about him? I guess the Patriots did their due diligence, and if he's the best out there that Bill Belichick trusts, then that's it.
Yeah.
Losing a guy like Steven Gostkowski, he's a hard guy to replace. He literally made the transition from Vinatieri to Gostkowski seamless. And Vinatieri's a Hall of Fame kicker. So this isn't going to be an easy one to replace.
Yeah, and there's a debate that whether Gostkowski's a Hall of Fame kicker. He's had a hell of a career there. He just didn't have the kicks that,
Nobody
Vinatieri
did.
got.
Yeah, nobody really, who has.
Yeah. All right. Any other news you want to talk about before we go elsewhere? Or you want to look at coaches we think may be on the hot seat? Because I know you think Adam Gase is, correct?
I do. I do think Adam Gase is on the hot seat.
It's his first year. Should he be on the hot seat?
Oh, not Gase. Gruden.
Gruden, okay.
I brought up Gase basically saying, because I know you're not a Gruden guy, but if you're going to give Adam Gase a second chance, I think Gruden, if you take a look at all of the hurdles, the poor front office, terrible owner, the injuries. You can't blame him for Jordan Reed, missing, 3/4 of the games in his tenure. You can't blame, Gruden for Darius Geis and Chris Thompson and all of these, injuries and botching RG3 and Kirk Cousins situation. So I think Gruden gets another chance, and he should.
I don't think he should because I don't think he should have got the first chance.
Well, you don't like anybody who coached with the Bengals.
I watched him, yeah, because guys that coach with the Bengals, the fact that they got jobs with the Bengals will tell you they probably can't coach. Because the Bengals wouldn't hire anybody who knew what the hell they were doing. They haven't since they fired Sam Weish. And the only reason I don't talk crap about Sam is because he's been on our shows like 3 or 4 times. And I really like him. But I don't think Sam was the greatest coach either. When I look at it, though, I can give Adam Gase this. There was 1 year where he did make the playoffs. You can't give Jay Gruden that at all.
He's really never made the playoffs with Washington. No, he made it 1 year with Cousins.
Did he? No, he didn't.
Yeah,
I
believe
was Shanahan. So. That was the year they ruined RG3.
No, Cousins made it 1 year, I thought. Now I got to look this up.
Well, he made it when RG3, he was on the team when RG3 happened. Look it up and then tell me what happened. We will wait. We need the Jeopardy music to play.
Well, we can't. Let's get another conversation. Let's keep this going.
I didn't think you were gonna. I didn't think you were gonna type
time.
that slow. Jeez, I just figured you would type it in real quick and you would have it because that's what Google's for.
Well, there's context. I have to weed out the context.
Well, how about this? AFC North. Mike Tomlin, would he be in danger if the Steelers end up 5-11?
That's tough because you lose your quarterback, but this would be only the second year in his tenure, and it would be a consecutive year where he's not in the postseason.
Well, I think this, though, when you look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, even with Bill Cowher, you had a 5-11 and a 6-10 thrown in there. Tomlin's made the playoffs a lot. I'm not necessarily a huge Mike Tomlin fan, but I think his job is safe. Just like Opie Taylor's job in Cincinnati is probably safe because Mike Brown's there. They give you at least 5 years, even if you're 2-14 every year. Ask Dave Shula.
Jay Gruden is 0-1 in the postseason.
Is he? When did he coach in the postseason?
Well, in the NFL, he was actually he was in the UFL. He's 0-1, and then he's 11-7 in the AFL, whatever the hell that is.
The AFL is the Arena Football League.
Yeah, I know.
Which is where all the best coaches are. All right.
Isn't that where you are? Aren't you an arena coach?
Yeah, 5 years ago. All right. It was a long time ago. It paid a lot better than a homeschool football team, too. Let's go here. John Harbaugh. Any danger for Harbaugh if this team drops off the map and goes 6-10?
No. I think Harbaugh. I mean, they just re-signed him to a deal last offseason, no?
Baltimore expects to win, and they haven't been to the playoffs in 4 or 5 years, have they? Or they made it last year, that's right, because they lost to the Chargers.
And Gruden was 2015 with the Redskins.
Okay. So that's 16-17. It says 4 years without, and I think Opie Taylor should be fired no matter what. Let's look at the AFC West. Anybody there you think may be on the hot seat?
In the AFC West, Vic Fangio. I believe he's a strong candidate to be one and done.
Yeah, and we've had this discussion like on the Bengals show about Opie Taylor. And, yeah, I know Opie's not his name, but it's just funny to say. And it makes me feel better to attack him personally all the time. But
Zach Taylor is going to bring the Bengals to a division title or a playoff spot next season.
And he's
watch.
Not. He's
watch.
Not.
Next season, watch.
You told me this season he could.
Yeah, that was before the A.J. Green.
Oh, come on. A.J. Green getting hurt has nothing to do with this. Nothing at all.
And that was before the first-round lineman went out.
It doesn't. That lineman doesn't make a difference because when you got five linemen that are completely incompetent, adding one really good lineman is not going to fix it.
That helps. It helps.
It doesn't really. You got to have 5 linemen, or at least 3 or 4 really good ones, and they don't. And if you watch the offense he calls and the offense he runs, this is not getting better in Cincinnati until they get an actual grown-up to coach the team. And Opie Taylor's not it. I keep telling you this.
We'll see.
Yeah, but the point is this. In the NFL, it's not college football. It doesn't take 3 to 5 years to establish your program. You know, you go in an NFL team, you change the culture, you get rid of the dead weight, and you bring in your own kind of guys to play the style you want to play.
Took Jimmy Johnson 3 years.
No.
To build the Cowboys.
I don't want to hear that. It didn't. It took him 2. That Dallas Cowboy team in the second year.
And Zach Taylor's had 4 games.
Right. Okay, so tell me this. What was
4 games.
Wait a second. Had Jimmy Johnson ever done anything before he was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, and in Florida.
Okay, yeah, and at Oklahoma State. He took Oklahoma State from being an also-ran to winning 10 games a year, winning a Gator Bowl. He goes to Miami and wins a couple national championships. Sean Taylor did what before Opie Taylor did what before he got to Cincinnati?
He had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay.
Yeah, that's it. So this is my point. I am more likely to give somebody with a track record a little extra time. A guy that is not proven, that fails immediately, your risk is set your franchise back 3 or 4 years if you continue with that guy too long. If you look at Dave Shula when he replaced Sam Weish, the Bengals have still never recovered from that. And actually it was more of Paul Brown dying and Mike Brown taking over they couldn't recover from. But AFC South, anybody on the hot seat there?
AFC South. Not Vrabel. I like Doug Marrone.
I think there's a couple guys that could be if things go wrong. But as of right now, I think everybody's pretty safe there.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong division. Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, I'm not a Bill O'Brien guy. I think he made some foolish moves as general manager or playing general manager, something he shouldn't even be doing. So, yeah, I think Bill O'Brien, if this offense doesn't, because he's an offensive guy, this offense isn't doing what it normally does, he's on the hot seat.
All right, AFC East?
Bill Belichick, no. Nobody in the AFC East. You know, Gase is going to get a couple of years. Whatever, there's obviously a plan in Miami. Sean McDermott, I think he's coaching himself into an extension. And obviously Belichick's not going anywhere.
All right, NFC East.
Jason Garrett.
I agree.
I think Jason Garrett's on the hot seat. NFC Championship and possibly Super Bowl or bust for Jason Garrett. The only other thing, Sean Payton, he obviously re-signed. That was the pivot I thought Dallas would do. If Jason Garrett keeps his job, let's say they give him one more year, it's only because they want more. They want
Riley.
Kellen Moore.
I guarantee you, Lincoln Riley is the best hire
Kellen
there.
Moore will be the next head coach of the Cowboys.
That wouldn't surprise me because he's completely unqualified as of right now, too. But if you could get Lincoln Riley, you could win Super Bowls for years.
You keep saying it. I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Lincoln Riley combined
I'm not
with
a
Kellen
college
Moore
guy.
would be unbelievable. All right, NFC West.
NFC West, I think they're all pretty safe.
I don't know if the Cardinals are safe. If they lose to the Bengals, then I think people have got to start to worry about Kingsbury. NFC North.
I'm not a Kingsbury guy, but I think him and Kyler are going to sink or swim together, and it's going to take more than a year to find out.
How about this? NFC North, I think that maybe Matt LaFleur is.
Why?
Because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't like him, he's not going to last very long.
They're 3-1 right now. They'll be fine. Matt LaFleur, I think that's going to work out.
I don't think they're very good, though. I really don't. I expect your Cowboys. We'll talk about that tomorrow, but I think your Cowboys will handle them. At least I hope
so. I hope you're right.
I can't believe I just said I hope they do. That'll tell you how much I hate the Green Bay Packers. NFC South.
Well, we didn't get through the North yet.
Oh, well, I just brought it up. I didn't think anybody was in danger in the North except for Green Bay, and I don't really think
Zimmer.
He's in
What
danger.
about why not Mike Zimmer?
I like Mike Zimmer.
I like Mike Zimmer too, but
he coached for the Bengals. See, there is one guy.
Got a lot of talent.
Yeah, but is he the guy that wanted Kirk Cousins and gave him all the money?
Was he? No,
I don't
probably
know.
not.
Probably not. But yeah, I think Zimmer has to make the playoffs this year because they have way too much talent not to make it. And whether Kirk Cousins was his choice or not, he's going to be the one that's blamed for it either way. And maybe they'll just run him and the GM out of town. NFC South, I think there's a few here.
Dan Quinn, absolutely on top of the list.
Yeah. Dan Quinn has to be. I think Riverboat Ron is too.
Absolutely. Unless they win some games with Kyle Allen.
Yeah, but if they win games with Kyle Allen, at some point he's going to bring Cam Newton back, and that's going to get him fired.
But if they win with Kyle Allen, the Panthers might want to bring in one of those young offensive head coaches.
Oh yeah, one of the guys that wants.
So
to
yeah, Rivera's certainly on the hot seat as well.
All right. Am I missing any divisions here? I don't think so. All right. Let's talk about tonight's game. And after suffering a humiliating and demoralizing loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, gave up 55 points, the Rams will head up north to the state of Washington to face off against NFC Western Division rival, the Seattle Seahawks. This is a huge game. Both teams are 3-1, both chasing the 49ers, believe it or not. And I don't know. This, on paper, looks like a good matchup, but I really favor Seattle here because the offensive line for the Rams has been really bad. And I think maybe that's got something to do why they can't run the ball. And they can't run the ball, which means Jared Goff can't play action and take his shots down the field. He ranks 26 in QBR. I think there's a lot of issues in L.A. right now.
Yeah, the number one key to the game tonight is trying to establish a run. And I don't know if it's going to be with Gurley because they're not giving him a ton of touches. And he's not being really effective with his carries outside of week one. I don't think Malcolm Brown's the guy either. I want to see Darrell Henderson get in the game. You spent a high draft pick on him. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if you can get a ground game going. Because that's the only way Jared Goff is going to play Jared Goff football, is getting the running game involved and then letting Jared Goff pick apart that defense with three extremely talented wide receivers.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think this is damn near a must-win for both teams because Seattle's at home against the Rams. But the other thing is, the Rams right now, if the 49ers beat the Browns, they'll fall 2 games behind them, and then they've got to play the Rams, even though it's at home on the 13th, which is next week by my calendar. So they could very easily be 3-3 if they lose this game.
Yeah, I think the Rams have a long road ahead of them. Yeah. And it's not going to be easy tonight with Seattle.
Yeah. So when you look at it, you talked about how the Rams beat Seattle. How does Seattle beat the Rams? You there, Anthony?
I lost you there for a second.
All right. So how does Seattle beat the Rams? We've already talked about how Rams beat Seattle, which is successfully run the ball. What about the other way?
I think you need to contain Aaron Donald, and really Aaron Donald hasn't had the best start to the season, for one of the best, or if not the best defensive player in the NFL. You haven't heard Aaron Donald's name called a lot, and I think he's going to have to disrupt. Have a good day. He's going to have to disrupt the line of scrimmage and get to Russell Wilson in order for this game to be competitive.
All right. Are you at Barnes & Noble signing autographs for your new book, The FF Face-Off in Reality?
Am I at Barnes & Noble?
Yeah, I heard you thank somebody. I figured maybe they were coming up. You're at a book signing, giving out autographs.
No, I'm picking up one for my wife.
But when I look at this, the thing that stands out is both offensive lines are pretty bad, but Seattle's offensive line actually run blocks pretty well. And Chris Carson in that Seattle run game with Russell Wilson, his ability to make plays down the field and occasionally with his feet when he needs it, I see Seattle winning this game by 10 points, Anthony.
I think Seattle has a good chance, but the Rams, after last week, I think they're going to want to prove something, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I'm sure they will, but wanting to prove something and not being very good or, something that makes it a little bit difficult. I really don't think they're that good on defense.
Who, the Rams?
Yeah.
I also feel that way about the Seahawks. I think that Seahawks defense is not the same.
I think the Seahawks defense is not very good either. That's why I said San Francisco was a Super Bowl contender at the start of the year. And when I look at this, though, the difference to me in this game is I do think Seattle's offensive line blocks the run well. And I think that could be a huge difference. That, and I just think Russell Wilson is a million times better than Jared Goff.
Right, but who else is going to step up with Russell Wilson now? And I know the narrative, Russell Wilson doesn't need it, but if this Seahawks defense isn't as good as it was in the past, I think you can get a little bit of a run game going, and that's going to open things up for Jared Goff. On the Seahawks end, I think they can run the ball, but do we trust Chris Carson? Chris Carson lost 3 fumbles, 1 in each of the first 3 games of the year. He didn't lose one last week. But if Chris Carson puts the ball on the ground again and gives the Rams more opportunities, I think that's going to be the difference maker. And that's why I like the Rams tonight.
I think the other question is this, though. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks front 4 is pretty good. So if they limit the run, Jared Goff's not going to win this game. So I think the whole key to this entire game is whatever team runs the ball better. And if they both run the ball well, I'll go with Russell Wilson because I think he's better than Jared Goff. So I think this game is kind of 50-50.
Yeah, but does the fact that here's my rebuttal to that. I know Russell Wilson's better than Goff, but Goff has Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Gerald Everett, whereas it's Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett. I like no disrespect to Will Dissly. I like Will Dissly a lot, but outside of that, you have a lack of weapons. So I think the fact that there's a lot on the Rams side, that's what gets them the edge in 9 out of 10 games, except when you play the Patriots.
or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I don't know. I don't know. There was a scoring frenzy, and let's not discount. You want to talk about weapons with Jameis Winston, and Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. There's no short of weapons on that end.
No doubt. But also, Tampa Bay's defense isn't very good. Tampa Bay's defensive line is good, though, and they pressured Goff a lot and forced 3 turnovers. So I'm thinking with the front 4 that the Seattle Seahawks have, I think that they're going to force some turnovers, and I think the Seahawks win this game 27-16.
I like the Rams tonight. I like the Rams in a bounce back.
All right.
By 3.
By 3?
Maybe, like 23-20, 24-21. Something. I don't think the scoring is going to get out of hand.
No, I don't think it will either. Well, I don't know. I think it possibly could, just because of what we talked about. Neither defense has been playing that well. So when you look at that and you throw in, if Todd Gurley and Chris Carson start to go off, I think it could get out of hand, the scoring, because I think both teams are going to be able to put up points then. A lot of points. Because Jared Goff, when he is a play-action quarterback and he doesn't have to read things and can just throw the ball down the field, is a pretty good quarterback. So if they could run Gurley, and I would think after the last game where they came out and run the ball 10 times the whole game, only 5 to Gurley, I would think that what they want to do is come out and run the ball early to establish some kind of physical presence in this game, which they didn't do against Tampa Bay.
You bring up Seattle's defense and their pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney, they got him right before the season started. He's been relatively quiet. He's going to have to make an impact tonight if Seattle wins.
Oh, yeah.
He's that player.
Yeah, and he made that impact in the first game for them against Cincinnati. They were all over Andy Dalton. But then again, the Bengals' offensive line is worse than the Rams. I know the Rams rank worst on Pro Football Focus, but I've watched the Bengals enough to know that there's nobody that is worse than the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line at blocking for their quarterback. So,
are the Rams really ranked the worst right now?
Yeah, that's what Pro Football Focus shows. And,
in the offseason, a big reason why I was kind of down on Gurley, aside from the knees, the fact that they lost. John Sullivan, their center, retired, and then one of the best guards in pro football, Roger Saffold, is now in Tennessee. And when you lose those 2 pieces on the interior offensive line, I thought they would regress, but not last.
Yeah, wow. And they have regressed. And, I mean, if you look at the teams they've played, though, Tampa Bay's defensive line is really good. Most of the teams they've played have really good defensive lines, which could skew those rankings. I don't put a whole lot into Pro Football Focus either, because Pro Football Focus, when they break down those films, they don't know what the protection call is, what the play call is behind it. They're just kind of grading each guy individually, I believe, and then collectively. And if you really don't know the reason for why, they just may be in a different protection than you think. You think they blew the protection, and they didn't. So Pro Football Focus is not something that I think is 100% correct all the time.
No, I mean, I agree. I like they're one of the few sites that I do use for analytics.
Yeah, well, analytics are for 12-year-olds that coach the Bengals.
Okay.
I don't like analytics. But, all right.
Well, I'm not a big analytics guy either, but they're a part of the game.
Yeah, but we don't want it to get to where it's part of a game like it is in baseball, where it completely destroys the sport and makes it completely unwatchable.
Well, baseball makes itself unwatchable.
No, baseball wasn't unwatchable in the 70s and 80s. It became unwatchable the more, I mean, come on. Who wants to sit down and watch a World Series game where there's 4 pitching changes in the top of the 7th, 3 pitching changes in the bottom of the 7th, and it just took 45 minutes to play the inning, and both teams went down 1-2-3.
You're not, telling me I'm not a baseball guy, so you're not. It's not like you're.
I used to be a baseball guy a long time ago, but they basically bastardized the sport, and PEDs had a lot to do with that too, because hell, everything now is either a home run or a strikeout or a walk, and that's about it. So that's why I don't really watch it anymore. I haven't really watched it since the early 90s. The only sports that I've really stuck with all the way through, college basketball, both footballs, and boxing.
Yeah,
But
Dan and Mike from the FF Face Off and then the old wrestling show. They're both big baseball guys, not me.
well, I used to be.
I don't even watch. Listen, I'm just an NFL junkie year round.
They've killed hockey for me too. It used to be it was almost mandatory there'd be one good fight in every regular season game, and now they've taken that away. And I hate to sound like somebody that just thinks violence is great or something, but I kind of do. I like to watch fights. Hell, I used to watch the NBA. You'd get about a fight a game there. Somebody tackle somebody. You had the no dunking rule, which would lead to a fight. And there would be maybe a technical foul called on, and that was nothing else. Nowadays, you take somebody down trying to dunk it. They'll suspend you for 7 games, take away your firstborn child, and make your wife go sleep with somebody else. But it is what it is. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Anthony?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything else. Maybe Michael Gallup's expected to play for the Cowboys this week, so they'll be getting a big-time receiver back, speed on the outside. Gallup played last week against the Saints, different outcome.
All right, guys. So that means Anthony's excited because his team's obviously going to win the NFC East. And I think this. I think if they don't win the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, I think Jason Garrett should be fired because, honestly, if we're going to speak honestly, I believe that the Cowboys are a much more talented team than the Philadelphia Eagles. And if the Eagles were to somehow win the division, it's going to be all because Doug Peterson is a lot better coach than Jason Garrett. Because the one thing I notice about the Eagles now, we talk about how the DBs aren't very good, but that front seven doesn't get the pressure on the quarterback that it used to.
No, it doesn't. But there'll still be, the Eagles, their front seven is probably the best run-stuffing front seven in the NFL.
Well, they got Doug Peterson, who, outside of Belichick, I think is the best coach in the NFL.
Oh, come on, get out of here. This is
Who's
you're
better?
out of hand. You're
Who's
getting
better?
out of control.
Who's better?
You're out of control.
Who's better?
You're out of control.
Who's better?
Andy Reid, for one.
How many
I don't
Super
want to
Bowls
hear
did
anything.
Andy Reid win?
I don't care about Super Bowls.
How many times did Andy Reid beat Bill Belichick in a playoff game?
All right.
Okay.
But how many people, and not many people beat Bill Belichick in the playoffs.
But Doug
I would
Peterson
put John
did.
Harbaugh miles ahead of Doug Peterson.
I wouldn't. I watch them all the time. And you know what? Anybody that hitches the future of their career to Lamar Jackson being a good quarterback is going to coach someplace other than Baltimore within the next 2 years. And you got to give me this. Even when Lamar Jackson was putting up huge numbers against bad teams, I never changed my mind on that.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Lamar Jackson is not the answer in Baltimore. And the fact that Lamar Jackson is the quarterback in Baltimore is why the Cleveland Browns are going to make the playoffs because the Bengals and Steelers are terrible. And the Ravens' defense is down. Lamar Jackson's not good enough to throw them into winning big games against good teams. So, Cleveland, you're going to the playoffs. But you're going no further than the first round. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up tomorrow at noon. Me and Anthony will be back to give you a preview of all of Sunday's games and to give you our knowledgeable picks. I think we're undefeated on the year so far, aren't we, Anthony?
Are we?
Sure we are. All right, if you don't
can
believe
be whatever
me,
we want.
If you don't believe me, you can go back to thegirlytruth.com, look up the NFL show every Friday, except for last Friday where I forgot that it was Friday. That will not happen this week because my high school team plays on Friday night, so I won't get confused. Make sure you follow Anthony at the FF Faceoff and at Real NFL Guru, correct?
The Real NFL Guru. There's
the real, not just real, the Real NFL Guru. Any place else or anything else you want to say?
No, just at the FF Face-Off, and we'll be going live tonight at 3:30, actually, a couple hours from now on YouTube and on Twitch.
All right, guys, so make sure you check them out on YouTube. At FF Face-Off is where you're at on YouTube, too, correct?
Yes.
All right, guys, and you can follow The Grueling Truth at Grueling Truth. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.